cards and we live now. Jeremy Lee in the building and every guest that you ever needed. Sports cards after hours keep the hobby heated. Updates, hobby talk like you never seen it. Sports cards live and none could ever beat it. Sports cards is a lifestyle. Sports cards and we live now. Welcome to another episode of Sports Cards Live with your host, Jeremy Lee.
All right, here we go, everybody, and welcome to episode number 134 of Sports Cards Live. It is Saturday night, March the 12th, 2022, and my name is Jeremy Lee. Let's thank Josh Luber for joining the show this last Wednesday and talking about Fanatics' new trading card brand Zero Cool, their first release of VeeFriends, and of course, talking about the future of the hobby. We had a great show. Check it out on the channel. Next Saturday on the show will be the PWCC Premier Auction Extended Bidding coverage, followed by John Wee of the Center Stage app on After Hours. I want to shout out Whatnot. Check out their app for group breaks, 1-minute auctions. Buy It Now is hosted around the clock by some of the best breakers in the hobby. Also want to shout out the West Coast Sports Card Convention, which will be in Vancouver, April 8th to 10th. Check out bossashows.com. And the Sport Card Expo will be in Edmonton, April 15th to 17th. And the Toronto show will be June 2nd to 5th. I will be at both. I will also be at the Mint Collective, March 25th to 27th. And tonight's guests, Chris and Josh, will be there as well. Shout out to TradeSafe, your risk-free alternative for trades and buy-sells from any peer-to-peer social media, marketplace, or platform. We have created a service, a process, and a team that makes for dealing much safer than any time before. TradeSafeHub.com. Thank you to all you subscribers, viewers, podcast listeners. If you're not yet subscribed to the show, to this channel, please go ahead and subscribe. As always, your comments, your questions are in play. Let's bring out tonight's guests, co-founders of Card Ladder. Here we have Chris McGill and Josh Johnson. Guys, welcome back to Sports Cards Live. How are you, Josh? We'll start with you.
Doing great, man. Thanks for having us. That intro is killer, man. I think I can recognize Victory Investments on that.
Yeah, that's Victory Investments. That's his voice. That's his writing. He did the video. He did all of it, actually. Yes, he did. Good, good ear there. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing well. Nice to see you. Nice to be back.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to have you guys back. So we've got a bit of an agenda tonight. Nothing crazy, you know. With you guys, I feel like we can just talk hobby, but I do want to provide a bit of structure to the show. So let's just start because you guys talked to Josh Luber a bit last night. I had Josh on the show on Wednesday. We just lost Josh Johnson. We'll wait for him to click back in. But Chris, and here he is. Let's bring him back. Welcome back, Josh.
Clicked the wrong thing. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We're gonna start by talking a bit about the VeeFriends, the VeeFriends product that came out by Zero Cool. You guys had Josh on your show on Friday. He was on with me back on Wednesday, and I don't know. Let's just talk about that for a second. So, did you catch him on my show at all? I caught him a bit on yours, and how do you think the whole this VeeFriends card product is? How do you think the market is responding to it so far? And when I say the market, we've got the sports card market, which is us and a lot of the people that we communicate with. And then there is the Gary V market. Let's just call it that. The Gary V maybe / NFT market. Chris, how do you see, or what are you seeing? What are you seeing out there from people's responses?
Well, I wouldn't dare answer this question without data. So let's try that. So Christina added the VeeFriends Zero Cool box to Card Ladder immediately upon release, and the secondary market has already been humming. So as we know, the clearing price was $2,150 per box. Let me stop here for a second before we go further. Jeremy, how do you feel about that as an owner of one of these boxes? That the clearing price was $2,150. Are you happy with that? Or do you think that's good value? What do you think?
Well, I mean, so yes, I have a box of it incoming. I haven't received it yet. It was one of the promo boxes, so I didn't pay for it. And so what do I think of the clearing price being $2,150? I did put in a bid myself on the website, my bid was about a seventh of the clearing price. So if that tells you what I think, I mean, I think it's a cool product. It's the subject matter isn't something that I collect, but that's okay. I still collect cardboard, and I appreciate innovation. I also appreciate risk. I think taking a risk and really trying something new is a decent strategy a lot of the time. So the 2150 price, I thought it would be, talking to Josh on my show, I think he said he predicted between 1 and 2,000. That was before the clearing price was determined, and I thought it would be a bit higher. I thought it could be as high as 5,000. Only 800 boxes. A lot of people with a lot of money follow Gary V. So I was actually surprised it wasn't higher, if I'm being completely honest with myself and where my mind was at.
Okay, but you just put a safe bid in just in case. Hey, if this is the clearing price is a seventh, what about $400? You would have taken a box at that price.
I bid $300 to be exact, and I would have taken one for $300. Yeah, of course. And in hindsight, I mean, of course I would have.
Well, we were lucky enough to have Luber on our show last night after the auction had ended. He went on the premiere shows to promote before, and then he came to us to do the recap. And he said there was a bid placed in excess of $100,000 for the box. So that, look, I don't know if we want to spin off into this direction too, but the blind Dutch auction is really interesting, and it does incentivize people to, if people assume that 90% of the rest of the bidders are going to bid accurately, then I can come in and bid $1 million, guarantee I'm going to get a box, and still pay a low clearing price. But if everybody starts thinking like me, something goofy can happen. And it can happen incrementally too, right? Because what if 20% of the people bid $1 million? That means that the clearing price is coming up. Because they only take the top, if there's 800 boxes, they take the 800 top bids. But if 20% of those are so 160 of those bids are just goofy bids, then we're really only living in a world of 640 relevant bids. And so it's the 640th highest rather than the 800th highest that's mattering at that point. So I think the blind Dutch auction could give us some funky results from time to time. But you weren't the guy who bid 100,000, so.
No, that wasn't me, but I understand that strategy. If you're like, I want a box of this, I don't care what it costs, but I don't want to miss out. I could bid 2,500, and that might not be enough, and I'm going to be pissed if the clearing price is 2,550 or 2,600. So if you come in with 10 grand, 20, 50, 100, $1 million, except that your credit card has to be able to take that as well. Yeah. So you have to be that must be one of those special, what are they, the platinum Amexes or something like that to be able to place that sort of bid. I don't have that kind of credit. Josh, your thoughts on the clearing price versus your expectation?
Oh, I didn't have much of an expectation. I don't know anything about these kinds of products. 2,000 sounds about right. I'm more surprised by the immediate value jump on the secondary market to 2 to 3x. That's surprising to me. I think I told Chris this on the show last night. I just assume, given that the vast amount of people that bid, and then it kind of settling at market value of 2,150, that we'll probably see that secondary market eventually settle in at that 2,150 as well. And we're just seeing this flood of FOMO right now at the $4,000 range. But with the supply of the boxes going down and people opening them, that the value could continue to go up.
Yeah. I wonder what happens as singles make their way onto eBay and other public platforms, and people start to see what they sell for. And that's going to have a big impact on what an unopened box is worth. Let's just have a quick look. Behind the Tank said, did anyone else get in on the VeeFriends bidding? Kicking myself for only getting one box with the way that they have been selling on eBay, $4,000 above initial auction price already. The first one I saw was for $5,888, like minutes after the clearing price was announced. So that is about $4,000 higher than the initial bidding, than the clearing price. So, but let's talk about the secondary market for a second. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but just the fact that we've both talked to Josh and both of our audiences have witnessed that. What do you think about the secondary market? Like, any thoughts, any predictions on that? How is the hobby going to decide which of these doodle subjects are the most important? Is it going to be the ones that were on the original promotional material? Does Gary have a say in that? Is he showing one doodle more than another? How does the hobby determine? Obviously in sports, we know it comes down to performance, but these things don't perform. So unless you look at their parallel NFT and how those things are selling, which I don't know what they're worth, but do either of you know, is there sort of a hierarchy within the VeeFriend NFT for one that's worth more than the other?
I think Josh has a lot of expertise on the hierarchy of the VeeFriends.
I never thought I would have to debate whether the positive porcupine or the gratitude gorilla were more important. I mean, it's probably just going to be the serial numbering that drives this. Like,
which one has the higher PER this season?
The Grateful Gorilla is looking pretty yoked, so he's probably a big rebounder, low post guy, Wilt Chamberlain style. Not sure.
I guess.
Yeah. You're right, Jeremy. It's the parallel is the NFT ranking, and I think it's going to bleed over here because people need some guide. Five show up as sold on eBay, 3 yesterday and 2 so far today. We haven't had an auction end yet, so we haven't had a bid pattern to investigate. This is all just such new territory that it's tough to kind of figure out. Plus, people are buying these boxes on the confidence that the person selling them is actually going to ship it to them because nobody has these boxes in hand yet. So it's a really weird market right now.
Definitely is. It definitely is. All right, let's go to some comments. I know I see you guys laughing because you're probably reading some of the comments that I haven't even looked at yet. So let's go. Let's say hello to Jake Dahl. Welcome to the show, Rich. Glad to have you. Jake is watching the Canadians and the Kraken game in overtime. Very good. Andy from She Blinded Me with Refractors. Thanks for showing up, Andy. There's Corey from Show Your Slabs. Let's go. Let's go. Frank, good evening to you. Jake, good evening to you. Frankie, 3 of my favorites. One show. And you're one of ours, Frankie. So glad to have you here with us. Very much, very much. Jahan says, behind the tanks, being international and not being able to killed me in terms of being able to, I suppose, place a bid on the VeeFriends. But I'm international. I was able to place a bid, so maybe it was only certain countries, perhaps at this point in time. GC wants to know where Christina is. Is she within earshot, Chris?
Hi guys, I'm in the office. I'm working.
Hi, Christina.
You always get 3 guests when you take the 2 of us.
Exactly. We got Julian in the house. What's going on? Victor in the house. What's happening, Victor? Tom Bullard, good evening to you. Steve Foley, good evening to you. Founder of TradeSafe. Jeff McMahon, hello. Yes, the Flames took care of the Wings tonight, definitely. Friedman wants to know, has anyone heard the rumor of stacked hockey boxes? I have not. Corey says, even the tech guys clicked the wrong thing. Good to see it. Everybody, that's on Josh leaving the show momentarily. What's up, Kev? Josh Johnson. Well, there you are. You're back at least. Hey, there. You're on the chat and you're in the show. Interesting stuff. Tom Bullard said, I said 2K was right on target, practically speaking. Yeah, I think that's it does seem like the right price, and maybe that's just because it's what we've seen. So I guess I'm easily influenced by seeing an actual price. Eric says Zero Cool, name says it all. Well, time will tell, really. The one thing that everyone has to remember is that this first release is just the first release. It's not indicative of them only doing NFT parallel sets. I think they've made that pretty clear. At least they made it clear to me. We got Skeppy in the house. What's going on? Kurt says, good evening to the 3 of us. Looking forward to it. Glad to have you. Jordan S. Card ladder for the people. So behind the tanks had 1 bid in at 25.50, 3 at 15, and he wishes he had more. Very good. Hits and chicks. Chris and Josh are legends. Respectfully, Yamwax in the house. What is up? Tony Sin says the card design and VeeFriends characters are questionable. Let's be honest, people are just buying VeeFriends for speculation. That might very well be the case. I have to think there are a few people out there who legitimately want these cards and will love them because they love Gary. They might love anything he does. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But as far as traditional sports card collectors veering into this, I think that's likely the case most of the time. Any thoughts on that, Chris?
Well, it's certainly speculative, but the market has been established from the VeeFriends NFT market. Like, there's clearly a market for these characters. It is rank ordered to some extent, and people, the VeeFriend floor price, I believe, is around $40,000. So, that's why I love this as a test case, because these, it's an open question as to why NFTs have value. Is it purely speculative? Is it because of the quote unquote utility, or, basically, are they glorified coupons that give you access to special things and that's why people like them? Or, is it something just inherently collectible about them? And so when we change the format from being digital collectible to physical trading card, we remove the utility variable, and we figure out, are these actually collectible? Are these pop culture iconography or pop culture symbols that are going to have inherent collectability, and people want it embodied in the cardboard form? So I think this is a really cool, naturally occurring experiment that is going to teach us something about the trading card method of collecting things, and it's going to teach us about NFTs, and we're going to figure out, or at least have one data point that helps us figure out, where is the value coming from? Is it speculative, or is there something more?
Yeah, I heard you make a comment basically saying that, this is the first time where we're going to be able to see how NFTs can actually merge into the trading card space through an actual trading card based on an NFT. We've seen NFTs based on a multitude of different objects out there, objects, subjects, but we've never seen it go the other way, at least that I'm aware of. And this is the first time. Chris, can you just explain that a little bit more, and how you think, or what you think we as a community might be able to glean from this once a few months go by and we have more time to digest it and see how the market continues to respond?
Yeah, I mean, so to back up a second or put some context on it, this is an interesting question to me, not because I'm interested in NFTs or I own any. I'm not, and I don't. The reason why this topic has come up is because, we've been, through our friends in the hobby, in the sports card hobby, we've been exposed to a lot of NFT content that none of us signed up for or asked for, but nonetheless it's there. And there's influential content creators and just hobby friends who are saying, hey, look, these are good investments, this is fun, we should, digital collectibles, NFTs, this is really cool. And Josh and myself are skeptics for different reasons, but we're skeptics of that movement. And so, and then we take a lot of heat when we come out as critics sort of the NFT space. But that's like when you're watching a sports event and one guy shoves down the other guy gets back up and hits that guy, but the second guy's the one who gets the penalty flag. The first guy gets away with it. Well, we're the second guy, all right? We're responding. We didn't start this fight. We're just replying to it and making our voice known that, hey, we don't want NFT digital collectibles coming in and poaching our collectors and taking dollars out of the sports card economy and putting them into different economies. We don't want that. We believe in cards, and we believe in it strongly, and we're stakeholders in the industry, quite bluntly. We run a business in the industry. We want to see our industry thrive. Now, I don't want to make things too black and white, because, look, there is a world where they peacefully coexist and they mutually reinforce each other. But in order for that world to work, you need to have people from NFTs coming into cards to offset the people from cards going into NFTs. And this product is an opportunity for Josh Luber, the Zero Cool brand, and Gary Vee to share their love of physical trading cards, which they have. We know Gary V. There's the famous picture of Gary with the table over his shoulder that just has thousands of cards worth millions of dollars on it, all in PSA slabs. And Josh Luber has, from what he has revealed on his Instagram, he has like the 2018 Prism Rainbow of Tom Brady, like the gold and the gold vinyl, and I think he even has the black. These guys have multi-million-dollar collections in physical trading cards. They love cards and they get it, and they're on the same level as us. So they've built a product that can bring the NFT community into trading cards. And now we get to figure out, like, are trading cards featuring NFT content, are they going to succeed? And I think it's a win-win either way. If they don't succeed, which I don't hope for, but if they don't succeed, then it shows that there is something special about sports cards, and there's something inherently collectible about sports cards that makes them unique and that allows them to thrive in the market. And if these NFT these NFT trading cards, these VeeFriends trading cards, if they do succeed, then I think it's a testament to the fact that the physical medium can carry the VeeFriends IP just the same as the digital medium can. So I think it's kind of a win-win outcome here.
Okay, no, that makes sense. It's well said, and we've got lots of comments on this. We're going to get to them because there's a lot. I'm seeing both sides of it. Friedman wants to know, how does Josh feel about being the only one with a head of hair? That's a great question, Josh. How do you feel about that right now on the screen with a couple of bald dudes up above you here?
Warm. My head feels very warm.
Warm and safe, right? Warm and safe from bumping it. Soccer Card says, I hope we will know the number of boxes for the larger set releases. I think we will. I think one of their pillars is going to be transparency. But I'm with Soccer Cards on that. I hope that that's the case. And we talked about it last Wednesday in that, Luber pretty much said that they want to be as transparent as they can moving forward. So maybe it'll even be for non-Zero Cool products, maybe Topps products and other Fanatics brands that might come out. Sports Cards Nonsense in the house says, Tuna Time. I do believe that is a reference to a particular VeeFriend. Yamwak says it's the first card, and it's the first card product from this Fanatics brand. It's history in the making, whether you're a fan of VeeFriends or not. And really, he's right. He's just telling you what we got here. It is the very first product from Zero Cool. It is the very first card product from Fanatics since acquiring the license and becoming, center stage. So really, Yam puts it well right there. Kevin says, any chance that the guy who got 40 cases at $2,150 is a buyer at $5K? So what he's saying is the maximum amount of boxes that you could have bought in any particular account on the Zero Cool website was 40. That's where they maxed you out. So what Kevin is saying is, hey, if I just bought 40 boxes at $2,150, if I attempt to set the secondary market value at and it wasn't even 5, it was 5,888 if I remember correctly. If I buy the first box on eBay publicly for just shy of $6,000, how does that help my 40 boxes at $2,150? I mean, he dollar cost averages up by a fraction, but all of a sudden 40 boxes are now worth $120,000 more than he paid for them if that price maintains. So yeah, Chris, I see you nodding your head. What do you think of that? Do you think Kevin might be onto something? Do you think that I mean, listen, we don't know if something like this could have happened, but he says any chance the guy that got 40 boxes at $2,150 is the buyer at $5K. What do you think about that?
Yep, I thought you broke it down perfectly, and assuming that the person actually is consummating these transactions. So let's go with that assumption, because there's also the possibility that, somebody's smashing bin on these items and they're not paying. That's always a possibility too. But assuming that they are actually buying them, the theory is just how you sketched it out. If you're holding in a market that's based on comparable prices to determine the current market price, if 4, 5, 6 comps roll out that are at $5 or $6 grand, then that's the market rate for the boxes that you're holding. And so right now looks like there's about 18 or 20 boxes, 21 boxes currently available for sale on eBay. Some of them are at auction. Some of them are buy it now listings. I think the lowest buy it now is at $6,000, and the highest auction is at $4,000, but it's still going. So I mean, it's a calculated risk to say, if the market gets flooded, then you're in trouble because you have to keep trying to prop up a $5,000 price, and that's going to be really tough to do. But on the other hand, if the supply stays low and somebody wants to hoard or corner the market for these and pay a high price and sort of say, look, no box is getting by for less than $5,000, and I'm going to keep buying them at $5,000, and I'm going to make that the market price and dollar cost average, like you said. I mean, the logic checks out. I could see people doing that. It's a separate question of, is that ethical? Is that a true market? Is that reflecting consumer demand? That's a separate question.
It truly is. It really, really is. Josh, I promise you we're going to get through this VeeFriends stuff and get you more interested in a couple of minutes. I know you're not a big NFT guy at all, but there are a ton of comments here. So I'm going to run through some and just sort of read them, and then we're going to go on to the next topic. Frankie says, for singles to get any kind of tracking, they need to get into the hands of Gary Vee fans and collectors. I don't really know if that market exists. We're about to find out. Luigi says there should be an NFT collection called Hot Garbage. Show your slabs. Corey, no, I don't have it yet, Corey, so I don't know. I will let you know when I get it and what I decide to do with it. Chad says Mount Rushmore of content creators. That's lofty. Thank you, Chad. And thank you on the Flames beating the Red Wings tonight. I'm guessing that's Gio. Says tolerant tuna for the win. For the win, maybe being the most important of all the cards. David Owens, what's going on? All Valley, hello to you. QB Card Club says VeeFriends will develop a younger following. I can see kids liking VeeFriends. I mean, it's a cartoony sort of subject very easily. I don't know where this comes from, but Office or Cafe Disco. I watched the Cafe Disco episode. It was last night or the night before. So you got my favorite show. So yeah, anytime, please bring up the Office Canner Collects. What's up, baseball card curmudgeon? Cafe Disco all day, says Rich. James says it's interesting with all of Gary's wealthy friends, those boxes didn't go much higher. I was thinking the same thing, James, exactly. Skeppy says, how do you both take negativity and criticism and turn it into a positive motivation? Yeah, that's a great question, Skeppy. Let's tack it on to the end of the show, though, because I think that could warrant some discussion. Lee says, myself, no interest in NFTs or Gary Vee cards of his NFTs. They look awful and kind of like he's playing a joke on people with how awful they look. But it's art. It's still art. It's doodle art, but it's art. Jake has zero interest in the product, but I have zero interest in Pokemon. It does have a following, something for everyone. Yeah, something for everyone, for sure. And Hits and Chicks says, at the end of the day, these aren't sports cards. Not sure why any of us in the sports card hobby care about these. The more we debate them, the more they affect us. Well said. Well said. And we will get off this topic shortly. We have talked about it quite a bit, and even had Luber on both of our shows recently. So, okay. Jahan says, bald is beautiful and clean, Josh, just so you know. Waxel says, market manipulation in the hobby. No way. I do sense the sarcasm there, Waxel. And okay, I'm going to skim through the rest of the comments. Next time we go to them. For now, let's totally switch it up, guys. I'm going to go to a topic that I heard you, Josh, say. I don't know where I heard you say it, if it was on a crossover or an Instagram post, but you basically were talking about, could this be the year of baseball? And I heard something like, could it be that this was all orchestrated? Listen, we're kind of falling out of favor with sports fans. People are not happy with baseball. All the eyeballs are on basketball. Football's always doing well. Of course, hockey's number one in North America. So, of course, I jest. But could it be that they thought, hey, let's try and find a way to bring more eyeballs to baseball, garner some attention, and maybe this whole thing was orchestrated just to push the opening day of the season back by a couple of weeks. Now, obviously, I don't think that's the case, but could this be the year of baseball? Did this delay bring enough people back to talk about it because of being upset that there might not be a baseball season, or just the fact that the owners lock out the players? Is this enough to bring fans back? And so, Josh, why don't you address that thought you had and why you think it has legs.
Yeah, sure. We had talked about this being in the year of baseball even before the lockout was resolved. We were talking about that just based on looking at the data each night and the indexes kind of creeping up in the off season. A lot of prospecting going on. There's a lot of interest in Soto, Tatis, Trout right now. Like those guys' indexes are going up. And, we had the year of basketball 2 years ago. We had the year of football this last year. And it just kind of makes sense to us to give the nod to baseball. And then my take on this whole lockout was that it's going to actually end up being positive for them in the long run because it garnered a lot of attention from people like myself who normally wouldn't watch baseball, especially in the, the spring training preseason time. And it's got me talking about it, looking into it. It's got some forced nature of potential rule changes to make the game more interesting for people like myself. If they could start now negotiating the speed of the game, maybe some of the shift rules that are kind of wonky. That stuff might make it more interesting. And we're having a full season of baseball anyways, no harm, no foul on the actual season. And we got 2 weeks worth of, eyeballs and attention.
From a lot of people who are otherwise not really caring, but when something like that labor dispute occurs, people seem to tune in and want to know, is it going to come back? What's going on? Josh, you said changing the rules in an attempt to make the game more interesting to people like me. What do you mean by that? Do you not enjoy the sport of baseball?
No, it's too long, too slow. Too many breaks. I grew up watching basketball and football, so basketball has very little stoppage. The game is kind of constantly flowing. There's a lot of rhythm to the game, and baseball seems to have a lot of stopping and going. And I thought maybe like the pitch count might help. Some of the rule changes I've heard to make it more interesting. I thought putting a guy on second base in extra innings to start the inning was kind of an interesting rule, just something to change it up a bit. To be quite honest, there's probably nothing they could do to get my full interest. I just don't have any nostalgia for the game, and I've never played it, so it's kind of hard to capture. People like me. That's why UFC and football are so popular, is it can capture the attention of anybody just because of the physical nature of it, the high intensity, the excitement, and sort of these really quick, highlights and short video clips of entertaining pieces. Baseball could use some help on that front. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I understand. I can't personally. I haven't been able to really sit through a whole baseball game since the Blue Jays were in the World Series or when they won them back in the early 90s. But it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate the skill and the talent and the strategy that is involved in the sport of baseball. But yeah, it's not really an action sport. Unlike basketball and hockey, it's constant movement. There's contact, all sorts of things. Football is obviously America's favorite, it seems, and it's exciting when the ball is actually in play, but there is so much stoppage. Yet seems to be the America's favorite sport right now. I mean, I think basketball is international as far as the hobby goes. Basketball seems to be number one. Baseball is likely still number two, and football seems to be a sport that people just love to sit down and watch. I don't hear a lot of people talking about watching baseball on any given day of the week, where Sunday football is a tradition across the U.S. It's a tradition in Canada as well. It's a big deal. Chris, your thoughts on all this? I saw you taking some notes.
You blew the cover on my notes, Jeremy. Yes. For those of us who can't keep everything in our heads, it helps to write them down. I don't have too many thoughts about this. I totally agree with Josh's analysis. I think there are multiple factors pointing towards this being the year of baseball. I played baseball as a kid. I was a pitcher and a third baseman and a very unimpressive batter. I had a bad tendency of my lead foot. I would step outside of the batter's box, which was a terrible habit. I think because I was scared of getting hit by the ball. I loved playing baseball. Wiffle ball is a very fun sport to play, even in my old deteriorated condition. It's just a fun sport, man. It's a really fun sport to play. Last time I watched a full length game was when the Chicago Cubs were in the World Series, and that was awesome. If I were to get involved in baseball collecting, I'd look at the pitchers because that's the position I played, and I think pitching is you get a lot of action. When you're watching the pitcher, he's is involved in every play. So, but I don't know. That's all I have about baseball. But I do, with all the data is pointing, the arrow is pointing up on baseball. I agree with Josh. I think we very well may be looking at the year of baseball. And by the way, like Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, these players, their cards are absolutely soaring right now. Just night after night, there's a Mickey Mantle all-time high in card ladder every night.
Yeah. Well, then there are lots of Mickey Mantle cards, right? The base card every year is there's a lot of people that are that are chasing that set. It's interesting. You said you'd collect pitchers, and pitchers don't seem to get the love. It's all about home run hitters and offense in baseball. Yet, like you said, the pitcher is on the mound for usually 7/9 of the game anyway, right? And why don't they get more hobby love? I don't know. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I do love my vintage baseball cards that are in my collection. I love the history of baseball. I love the impact baseball has
You wouldn't
had.
happen to have the Warren Spahn with you, would you?
I don't have it with me at the moment.
Okay.
No, it is my new PTR on Clubhouse. For anyone who's on Clubhouse, I just changed it up. But I do love the history of it and the history's impact on culture. And baseball, it is America's pastime. I don't think anyone's going to deny that or argue with that. So it's interesting. Here I am, a sports fan, a card collector, and I'm not a huge baseball fan. I would follow the Blue Jays or get more into the Blue Jays when it came close to playoff time. I know there's some great young players there, but it's not. But it's one of those things where, as a card collector, I like collecting cards more than I like watching sports, and I'm happy to admit that I'm a card collector, and the history of them through the cardboard is it's a wonderful thing to be involved in. A couple comments on that. Carlos L says the shift rule change could have a big impact on pull hitter stats. Example, Joey Gallo. Lee says, I don't like watching baseball until the playoff series starts and love those games. Still can't watch a regular season game though. Lee Haskins, I do love baseball cards though. I think they are the steady left to right up in value over time. A lot of history that is on the baseball side. Yeah, I'm exactly with you on that, Lee. T. Jones says baseball and hockey are rising. Is that something, Chris, watching all the data on Card Ladder? Is hockey rising along with baseball at the moment?
Well, no. Hockey has not been doing poorly, but it's just been flat for so over the last 6 months, hockey is up 5%, which is just stable. 5%, that's nothing to be upset about. Over the last month, it's down 1%. And bear in mind, this is the Card Ladder Index. So this features about 1,300 hockey cards. This may not be representing or capturing the total hockey market, but it's capturing more of the high volume transactional cards. But hockey has some really amazing high dollar cards as well that don't get a ton of publicity outside of like the Gretzky, O-Pee-Chee, and the Tops. But you look at something like Sidney Crosby's RPA from 2005, the Cup. That card last sold in February of 2019 in a BGS 9.5 grade. Card Ladder's estimated value on that card is $400,000. You've got these hockey cards that haven't come to market in a while that are really probably held tightly by collectors that would set shocking record prices for hockey, but it just seems like nobody wants to sell them. So there's 9 of those Crosby Cup RPAs out there in a BGS 9.5. It's not like there aren't any. So I just think hockey too is a sleeping giant. And but I don't know if it's quite hockey's time yet. I think that might be something that's still in the works. But I certainly see why people love it. I see how sets like the 2012 Prism Gold and the PMG Greens have taken off, the retros for hockey. So there's some observations on hockey.
Yeah, those have really taken off. So of the essential credentials, there was a Gretzky raw essential credential from 2012 Fleer Retro that just sold for over $9,000. And I was fortunate enough to pick up a BGS 9.5 copy of that exact card at the National in 2019 for $125. So yeah, I mean, that's stuff like that happens right now. Stuff like that happens. Let's go through some comments here. Waxel says, watching a 5-second clip of Aaron Rodgers getting sacked is better than any MLB highlight. T. Jones says, indexes are leaning hockey baseball. Vladdy will crush it this year. Brian Adams with the tip, thank you very much, says, I love watching baseball for the first time since the 80s, all because of Shohei Ohtani. Sometimes that's what it takes to get people back into a sport, is just one player that comes in. Here we go. Julian sets us straight. He says, it's because pitchers play 20% of the games. It's much easier to gravitate to a player who plays every day. Also, the pitcher is fundamentally a defensive player. Their goal is to stop scoring. Well said, Julian. And people like offense, which is, yeah, obvious in the hobby for sure. No doubt about it. All right, lots of comments on that. Really appreciate it, everybody. Richard says Ovechkin is a special case because he's actually friends with Putin. Maybe was at one time. Who knows? Lots of comments about in hockey, do the Russian players get hurt or from the current conflict? Ovi got booted a game. Yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate what's going on in our world today, and let's leave it at that. Okay, that's the baseball topic. Chris, when we were chatting about this episode about, an hour ago, we were talking and a topic title came to me based on the discussion, basically being, is it time to reset the hobby? And that is lingo that is often used in Clubhouse, where there's a room going on and it goes off in all directions. Someone will say, let's reset the room and kind of start fresh. So your comments that brought up that or made me think of that wording for a title or a topic tonight, is it time to reset the hobby? Can you explain what your mindset is with respect to that?
Yes, reset is a good way to put it. I'm thinking also reset, and then, to mix my metaphors, advance the ball. Reset and advance the ball. So, and here's what I mean by advance the ball. This is a bit that I've been refining over the last few podcasts that Josh and I have done. Michael Saylor was on Patrick Bet-David, a former guest of yours. He was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast not long ago, and he was explaining why he decided to allocate hundreds of millions of dollars of his company's retained earnings into Bitcoin in the summer of 2020. And he said he looked carefully at a number of asset classes. He was primarily focused with getting the money out of the cash format. He didn't want to hold cash. He had become convinced of the likelihood of inflation, rapidly deteriorating the value of the cash, and he wanted to put the holdings into some other asset class, which is a common refrain, right, of the rise of alternative investing over the last 2 years, is that people are worried and leery of traditional ways of storing value, which would include cash and holding cash. And so he looked at a number of asset classes for where to park those hundreds of millions of dollars. He looked at real estate. He looked at art. He looked as well at Bitcoin. And the thing that convinced him on Bitcoin was that exponents of the Austrian School of Economics, which, like the Chicago School of Economics or, the Keynesian School of Economics, it's a tradition. It's an intellectual tradition. But it doesn't have much mainstream purchase outside of a few Ron Paul endorsements during his 2012 presidential campaign. But it's a legitimate school of thought that has intellectual forefathers and is taken seriously by scholars to some extent. And the Austrian School of Economics was an early adopter and developed a philosophy to support Bitcoin. And basically, the reason why those two overlap is because Austrian economics has always been in favor of non-fiat currencies. They're aggressively libertarian. They think that any force from the government is bad, and fiat currency is obviously enforced by the government. They're rugged individualists. They're very hardcore about freedom, personal liberty, and freedom. And Bitcoin lines up with that because Bitcoin is this totally independent, decentralized currency that is theoretically free from the from monetary policy. It's free from government manipulation and intervention, and so they really gravitated to it on a theoretical level. And so during 2020, when our economy was going through all sorts of weird machinations, Saylor really gravitated to these explanations that the Austrian economists were offering about what was happening and about the inflation that was coming. And because these smart people that he respected were endorsing Bitcoin as an alternative store of value, he went with it. He went with Bitcoin based on his respect for the scholarship and his agreement with the scholarship and the works of these philosophers and thinkers from the Austrian economics school. And so, in other words, this pocket of nerds who had been producing philosophy and scholarship on Austrian economics for decades and decades and decades ended up producing works that were more influential than any influencer in pop culture ever could be. They influenced this guy to park hundreds of millions of dollars into Bitcoin. And in sports cards, we have influencers and we have people who have associated themselves with the hobby as faces of the hobby, but we don't have those intellectual texts that can explain to people all of the virtues of our market and of our experience and of the history of our hobby. And I think it's high time that we start producing them and that we start giving some serious intellectual consideration to it. And I think Josh Luber started it with the manifesto. I think that's a good start, and we can take the baton and run from there. But so resetting the hobby, moving the ball forward means going back to first principles and developing our elevator pitch and our explanation for why this hobby is great, why it's been successful so far, and why the next time somebody like a Peter Saylor in the summer of 2020 wants to decide where to put his money, he would choose us. Because guess what? Had he chosen us, he would have done better than Bitcoin. Bitcoin went up between then and now about 4 point something times. For example, just the football card market in general is up 6 times. So if you just had purchased football cards in general, you would have done 50% better than Bitcoin did. Had you bought Tom Brady cards, you would have done twice as well as Bitcoin did. So we need to tell these stories. Like, we are just sitting on a treasure chest of great data and great information. And we think Card Ladder plays a small role in helping to legitimize and tell the story of our great hobby through data, but we also need linguistic exponents to put it into words and reduce it to text and help convince that next Michael Saylor that he should look seriously at sports cards.
Wow, man. Lots of theory there, lots of big words. I just have to bring up a couple comments because like right here, Freddie Falcon says, I must be watching the wrong show. Sean here says, didn't think I'd hear a Friedrich Hayek reference in a card video, the Austrian school. Grail Chaser says, when Chris talks, sometimes I feel absolutely ignorant. Anyone else feel that way? I just have to ask, anyone else feel that way? Brendan Ryan says, the only thing that can save Bitcoin are thorium reactors. I don't know what thorium is. David says, baseball cards and intellectual texts don't really go together.
Wow, my speech didn't resonate with anybody. Okay, back to the drawing board.
Well, not necessarily. Of course, you're going to hear more from the people who are, who maybe want to challenge it than those who agree with it. Drew says, if Nat was his friend, he would have done well, which is probably true. Probably true right there. Awfulix says, I love a good Chris TED Talk. Julian wants to help you write the book. Grail Chaser, too many smart people in the room now. Can we open another room? All right. Lots of that sort of stuff for sure. Joe says, can I get grad school credit for attending that mini lecture? And Adam Crawford, this is right. Chris has an incredible gift for articulating his thoughts. That is based on or the result of a very broad vocabulary. Definitely. And T-Dot says crypto is the future, like it's 1999 internet right now, which is pretty bullish on crypto if that's the case.
So the bubble's gonna pop then, because we had a tech bubble pop right after that. So hope he's wrong.
Josh will say anything to get us off the topic of NFTs and crypto, I think. Okay, good stuff. Let's switch it up again. And Chris, thanks for that explanation and really the economics lesson. It's definitely educational for myself, and I'm sure many others watching. Let's talk about the Mint Collective. The Mint Collective is coming up. Gosh, it starts in about 15, 16 days. I'm looking forward to it. Let's talk about Mint Collective expectations, what you're hoping to get from this event, this, the 4-day event, or is it 4 days, 3-day event in Las Vegas? Josh, how about you? You're going to be there?
Yes, I will be there. I'll be speaking in 2 of the panels, I believe, and then hosting a 3rd. So yeah, we will be there.
And besides participating in some of the panels, is there anything else you're looking forward to doing at the show? I mean, or I call it a show, but really at the event, because there is a card show, which is just one of the items on the agenda. So what else are you looking to gain from this event?
Yeah, it's more of like a conference at this point, especially being in Vegas. Vegas is known for its big tech conferences and such. Same as I look to get from all the shows. It's more of a networking, chance for me to meet up with my friends and talk cards and just kind of take a break from the internet and see people in person. That's usually how I treat the shows. I don't have any expectations of like finding specific cards, because everything that I look for is just, harder to find. So I don't have any expectations there. I'm hoping that this show turns out to be, a thought leadership type conference where there's a lot of great conversations around moving the hobby forward and leaning into some of our leaders in the hobby to innovate and move us forward and talk about the different things that we're doing to do that. So I'm hoping it's a lot of that, and I hope people get some value out of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. How about you, Chris?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you, Jeremy, and seeing Josh, and seeing lots of the great people of this hobby. And let's see. We should also disclose that Card Ladder has been, through Christina's efforts, has been involved since last July in helping to organize and plan out aspects of this event. So we've got a vested interest in seeing it do well, and we put our brand and our reputation behind it. So, we love working with the collectible team. I'm sure you do as well, Jeremy. So, this is all starting to feel a little incestuous, in fact. But look, I think it's going to be a really interesting way to test doing hobby events in a really grand scale, right? IMG is involved. They produce amazing high-level events. Some of the venues that have been secured and the ambitions for this event are very ambitious, and I just hope it's a smashing success and it raises the bar for what's possible when somebody like Collectible takes the baton and says, we'd like to do a card show on a higher level. I wonder what you think, Jeremy. What are your expectations?
Mine are probably similar to the expectations similar but different, as good as that sounds, to the expectations I had going to the National last year. The National last year was the first time in 2 years at the National, first time in a while at a live show. And so I was looking forward to, of course, seeing people that I hadn't seen in a while, meeting people in person that I'd only met virtually, like yourselves. And then also networking and meeting more people in the hobby and, looking for opportunities and building up my network and sourcing guests for this show. That's how I went into the National last year. And it was a very successful show for me on all fronts. This one, now here we are, will be about 8 months later. And I still feel like it's, and for the National as well, finding cards for my personal collection, which I managed to find a couple awesome pieces. For the Mint Collective, I don't know how much shopping I'm going to do, but I'm hoping I'm able to find a few pieces for my collection. I know Josh collects LeBron and Penny and Chris Paul. So it's a really narrow scope. It might be tough for a guy like Josh to find a card. For me, I collect many different areas of the hobby, so I'm more bound to find something that I'm willing to add to my collection. So I'm obviously excited for the card show part of it and maybe being able to pick up a card or two. But I'm also looking forward to partaking in a few of the panel discussions. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Doing this kind of thing, but in person on a stage will be, I think, that much more exciting. And then there's going to be just networking, meeting more people in the hobby. This is an event that's attracting a lot of the entrepreneurs, a lot of the real active vendors, card dealers, and a lot of the, I'm guessing we're going to see, we may not be able to recognize them, but a lot of these, or a good portion of some of the people representing some institutional money, some institutional investors, some private equity, and real high-end collectors as well. So I'm looking forward to just, being able to keep my finger on the pulse of the hobby and stay in touch with the players within it. So that's really what I'm looking forward to at the collective. You mentioned that Christina has had a part in sort of helping organize it. I think the title that the Mint Collective has given to a few people, myself included, is a curating partner. So it's been nice to be able to work with the organizers and just kind of like these people. They are actually looking for. They don't think they know it all, which I highly respect. They want to bring in a few different opinions and thoughts, and so kudos to them for doing that. So there you go, Chris. Thanks for asking. That's what I'm expecting from it for sure. I'm going to go to some more comments we have here. Soccer Card says, this might be the least like episode yet. Well, hey, I guess there has to be one out of 134 of them, but no offense. I hope that's not an offense to my guest. More maybe the topics don't resonate with you, Soccer Cards, and that's okay. Brendan Ryan says it's all about the buckets, gentlemen. Yeah, all about scoring and offense. Jahan says, well said, Chris. And baseball is an intellectual sport, which, hey, if you're going to speak intellectually, may as well be about an intellectual sport. David French says, if we want to reboot cards again, they need to be in gas stations and corner stores. $1 options need to be in every Walmart, toy aisle, etc. And I do think that that's what Luber has sort of, indicated. They want them to be everywhere. Whether they're going to be at the dollar point, I don't know. I've never heard him. Maybe I've heard him say that. I do not remember. Bill says, will the Card Ladder crew make a trip up to Canada for a sport card expo? Which one do you guys want to address that?
Well, Christina says her passport is expired. I don't even have one. And what do you say, Josh?
I do not have a passport up to date as either, so let me get on that. I have wanted to go to Canada. I think that'll be fun. Where is it, in Toronto? Where is that expo?
There's one in there. Yeah, there's one in Toronto, right by the Toronto airport. Really convenient for anyone who wants to fly in. You can literally fly in and take an Uber from the airport to the show in less than 5 minutes. It's literally right there. It's quite the excellent setup they have there. So, well, it would be great to see you guys at one of those shows. Definitely. Sean says nostalgia is the key to any collectible. So when you're creating a collectible from scratch, it isn't based on any prior or previous IP. It could be difficult, and maybe that's a comment towards the VeeFriends product, but it happens, right? Harry Potter wasn't even a thought 20 years ago, and now it's a major IP. So these things do happen. Thank you, Brendan Ryan. Appreciate that comment very much. Matt Pime says, what is the growth potential of the Mint Collective? Does it have the potential to be on par with the National or become the event? It's a great question, but I don't think it's really meant to be like the National is a card show, and the Mint Collective is more of a, as Chris put it, a thought leadership event with a card show attached and other events. So I don't think it's really the same thing, more of an industry conference. Behind the Tanks, you're based in Vegas. Very much looking forward to meeting the, thank you, Behind the Tanks. I look forward to meeting you as well. Josh Johnson in the chat I see now. Very good, very good. Okay, let's switch it up again, guys, and let's talk about Card Ladder. And this is Josh. We're going to get you more involved now because you do all the coding at Card Ladder, and Card Ladder has recently launched what you guys are calling Card Ladder 2.0. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Josh, and why don't you explain to us what is Card Ladder 2.0? What were the what were the enhancements that you added this time that made them worthy of a 2.0 suffix versus just, hey guys, here's what we're doing this month?
Well, first of all, Jeremy, I don't think I didn't notice that you're trying to troll me with that Trae Young shirt. Nice try. I know that's the Trae Young.
I bought this from you.
I bet. Yep. Very well done tonight wearing that. Good timing. You know how much I love Trae Young.
I didn't even know it was Trae Young when I bought it. I just like the color combination. That's the only reason I bought it.
Well, that might be a next level troll that you didn't even know about. Good job. Card Ladder 2.0. Yeah. So the focus of Card Ladder is shifting away from, this sort of uphill battle of adding every card to the ladder, and shifting more towards our 30 million sales that we have in our database and our 3 million plus cards that are comprised of those 30 million sales. And now we're really leaning into the data that Chris and the team and Christina and the researchers have spent a lot of their time, all of their time basically, vetting the sales and actually like curating the database, building out the database. And every time they vet those sales, they're actually adding to the pile of this very pristine database of vetted sales and of indexes that are built out for every player. And as they vet more sales and as things get more curated and more pristine in the database, it just grows the confidence of our indexes and of our price predictions. And so we're able to use that data and those algorithms, that mathematics, the code, all that's comprised of all that stuff, and we're able to apply it to any card. And so now that we have 30 million sales, we can basically take all this effort and work we've put in over the 2 years, apply it to those 30 million sales. And now we can basically say, the race to add every card for us, for all intents and purposes is over. And now the focus is getting those 30 million sales front and center, making sure you can search them, and then actually mapping it over to the verified sales. So now if you're in the sales history and you're searching stuff, you could actually see a green check. That means that it's a card that's in our ladder database and it's been verified by someone on our team. And you know that the pricing on it is going to be pretty dang accurate, and it's going to be a vetted sale. And you can start now focusing on adding cards to your collection from the 30 million sales and over 3 million cards. So you can basically add any card that's been sold in the past. You can add it to your collection super fast. You can search it in the sales history. You can add it to your collection from there. You can get advanced pricing automatically added. You can get daily updates based on these algorithms and based on these vetted sales. It all kind of just, to us, it's, we've called it Card Ladder 2.0 because it's more of a mindset shift than anything. It's not really a feature change, or it's not really a new, shift in how we build the tech or how we actually vet the sales. That's the same. It's really how we position ourselves in marketing the product and how we describe it to people.
I have a question. You guys can now go back and pull card price data from eBay and elsewhere back like 20 years or so. How do you do that? Like, why can when I go on eBay, and I'm not asking for your secret sauce here, but if I can only go back on eBay by 3 months to see a sold listing, how does a company like yours, answer this the best you can, but like, how do you go and pull that data? What's the trick there? Or is it literally, some sort of query that you put into the ether and it comes back?
Well, to be honest, a lot of it is just the fact that Chris and Christina and I are so involved in the hobby. We have, a really strong network, and we know a lot of folks in the community, and we know a lot of the leaders at these different auction house companies, and we're able to work with them, and we hopefully bring enough value to them to justify, the amazing value they bring us with the sales data. We have great partnerships with Golden, with PWCC, with MySlabs. The team over at MySlabs is one of my favorite partnerships because we know those guys personally, and we love having their cards in our shop. We love getting their sales data. We love that we're able to link over to their product. And, we feel that, Card Ladder is the only, or not the only, it's the best company at the center of the hobby that is really able to be unbiased and treat everybody equally. And all these different marketplaces, we treat them all equally. We vet their sales equally. and we're able to gather their data equally. And so it's really mostly about that. And to get more specific on your question, when you're probably looking for a little more detail, there is quite a bit of tech involved in sort of gathering the sales on a timing cadence and getting them into the proper buckets for Chris and Christina to review. So there's quite a bit of technical firepower going on back there, but a lot of it is just like I said, we know these companies and we like working with them.
And going back that far, was your recent acquisition by Collectors Universe, was it the catalyst that helped you formulate more of these relationships and partnerships and access this data? I guess my question is it that relationship you now have with Collectors Universe as the parent company that really allowed you to go and maybe exploit some of these relationships even further to be able to gather that data?
On this topic specifically, no. We had all of these relationships prior to the acquisition. They were more so helping us with the research side and scaling up our team.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Skeppy makes a comment here that he says Chris has a way of articulating topics in ways that are easy to listen to. It's all about tone and presentation. Yeah, well said, Skeppy. Lee Haskins says, I'm a software engineer. Josh is the only other person on YouTube I watch that also is. Nerds rule. I mean cards, not software. There you go, Josh. Shout out from Lee Haskins. Latrell Spreewell is the American Dream asks, are you guys technically full-time employees for PSA now? I mean, I can answer this for you, but Chris, why don't you take that one?
No. Card Ladder is a sister company to PSA. We are full-time employees of Collectors Universe.
Are you okay? Versus
company of PSA and Card Ladder.
Let me just ask, are you employees of Collectors Universe or are you employees of Card Ladder, or did they just put you into Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to take a look at the org chart to see exactly how these things flow. I mean, for all intents and purposes, nothing has changed from the way that we run Card Ladder. So I guess you could call us Card Ladder employees, but Collectors Universe signs the checks. And by the way, a terrific place to work with great people there.
Good to know. Good to know. David Owen says Card Ladder isn't just another option anymore. It's a hobby necessity. That's lofty praise right there for Card Ladder. So Chris, we asked Josh about Card Ladder 2.0, and he gave us his thoughts on what it means and what in terms of the thought shift. How would you articulate this Card Ladder 2.0 versus the prior version or the previous era of it?
Yeah, well, I have nothing to add to what Josh said. I thought that he hit the ball out of the park. So instead, what I'll do is I'll complement it with two use cases. So first of all, you had mentioned the 2012 Gretzky Essential Credentials. So on Card Ladder 2.0, I click on the sales history button. I type in 2012 Gretzky Essential, which is what I did literally while you were talking. And before your story was even complete, I had the full sales history for that card across 15 different marketplaces pulled up. And when you said you bought it in 2019, the BGS 9.5 for I think $125, you said, well, I see that in 2016 a raw sold for $59. I see in March of 2020 a BGS 8.5 sold for $128, and then your sale falls right in between those two. Makes perfect sense. And then the most recent sale that you also had referenced was for about 10 grand. I see that was February 27th on eBay at auction. And then I'm able to learn the card is serial numbered to 34. I'm able to see really cool pictures of it. Some of these sales are coming from PWCC Weekly, some of them coming from eBay. And so I'm just able to get a bunch of information. So literally, as you're telling me the story, here I am filling in the gaps and educating myself about the card you're talking about. That's the power. That's the first use case. The second use case was Christina and I were at a local show here in Northern Illinois, and somebody had a 2018 premier level Josh Allen die cut rookie card, BGS 9.5, and he had an asking price on it of $1,000. And I knew right away that was a weird price. And so I said, how did you price this? And he said, well, one sold for about this much 6 months ago, and there hasn't been any recent comps on eBay. So I said, okay. So I just walked away from the table. I went to Card Ladder. I went to the sales history. I punched in 2018, Josh Allen, Premier level. It was the die cut one, which I think is called Premier. So, and it was the blue parallel. So I just look it up on Card Ladder sales history, and I see that he's right. One hasn't sold on eBay in 6 months, but one did sell with Golden 1 month ago, and the price realized on that one was like $2,000 or something. So right away, this guy's card is underpriced. And then I have two options. I can either buy the card for $1,000, which there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody has, their card underpriced and you don't know the market better than them, go for it. But instead, I said, let me see if I can earn a Card Ladder customer for life right now. And I said, here, man, look at this. This is the Card Ladder app. If you search your card, you're right, there's no eBay sales, but it did sell on Golden a month ago. And this is what it sold for. And I think, and Josh Allen cards are up even since then. So maybe you should reprice this card. He took it back. He did reprice it. And then I saw him make a deal for it on the show floor like an hour later at what I'm assuming is something much closer to the real market price. So there's your two use cases to complement the theory and the foundation that Josh gave.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well explained. And hopefully there's, hopefully some people watching who can find Card Ladder useful for themselves can give it a shot. I'll put up the website or your Instagram actually is just simply at Card Ladder on Instagram, and cardladder.com is the website, easy enough to find. Eric says, I pay Chris a monthly stipend to read me bedtime stories in his calm voice and help me go to sleep, and it's worth every penny. Cracked in Card Co. wants to know, is Card Ladder for the big boys? Is there a card step stool for us small fish? I mean, it's not for what is the price? Oh, so it's free. There's a basic app that's free, but you can then go pro for $15 a month. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I'd also like to point out that it was $15 when we launched a year and a half ago, when it had like 4 features, and it's still $15, and we have like 10 times, literally 10 times as much surface area.
Good to know. Well, nice to keep the price flat like that. eBay came out with some pretty big news the other day that they are going to be having a safe. There's a vault, if you will. There's going to be an eBay vault now they're looking at. They even mentioned fractional ownership, which seems to me like that could be a big challenge. Knowing Collectible and their business model, every offering, every IPO on the Collectible platform has to get through SEC, has to get through the SEC regulatory process or one of their regulatory processes. And it can take like 3 months to get the card from intake to IPO. I don't know how eBay would overcome that if there's some alternative method to offering a fractional investment outside of only accredited investors, which would obviously you would need to appeal to and be available to in order to really go mass, which eBay would I think would want to. So I'm confused on the fractional side of thing, what their business model plans are for that. But as far as the vault goes, we've got other vaults in the hobby. We've got the PWCC vault, we've got the Golden vault. I believe Alt has a vault. Now we're going to have the eBay vault. So Chris, why don't we get your thoughts on that news? And I guess one of the themes I'd like to have in this discussion is eBay getting away from their core competency of being simply a marketplace for peer-to-peer sales?
I think there is a spectrum of outcomes here that is very wide. And how about I just talk about the best case scenario first, because, let's see the glass is half full. The best case scenario here is that the intellectual framework that has been built by great companies like ComC, who I believe had the very first vault, and then PWCC, which came with their vault a few years later. And now there are very high quality vaults with great auction houses like Golden. And now eBay is getting into the vaulting game. And one of the knocks on cards is that there's a lot of friction. Things have to get mailed back and forth, and You have to take possession of the physical item. Where do you store it? This is like the new era knock on sports cards. Well, guess what? A vault solves all of that. The vault makes transacting available 24/7, and it allows for swapping things where you just, it's in this guy's section of the vault, we just move it over to this guy's section, and it's done, and it's chronicled and cataloged in, some sort of digital ledger system. So it solves the big knock that the new era has on sports cards. Now, I don't subscribe to that criticism. I think the friction of sports cards is one of the things that makes it so awesome. I think the rush of waiting for a mail day is awesome. I think, doing face-to-face transactions, one of which Christina and I just did today to get a Grail card for ourselves, I think these are very rewarding, and it's actually part of the magic of the hobby. But for people who don't want that, or who feel like these quote unquote frictions are undesirable, then they can evade it. And now that eBay will be offering the vaulting, you're right. They said they're thinking about, fractional opportunities, fractionalizing stuff. So companies like Collectible and Rally have really paved the way for fractionalizing cards in general. And now what eBay is going to do, and this is why this is the best case scenario. eBay is going to take these great business ideas that have been nurtured and developed in our great hobby by great companies and entrepreneurs, and they're going to open them up to what I believe they have reported is hundreds of millions of customers. And I believe that the number that they said they have that are high value or high dollar customers is in the 30 million or something like that. I hope I'm not misremembering that statistic from Rich Mueller's report on Sports Collectors Daily. But they have lots of customers. And the thing that has always made eBay so important to this hobby, and it remains just as important today, the fact that we have an eBay, and we don't have Amazon or Google, but if we had one of those type of brands, or Apple, there's really only a handful of brands that just everybody's familiar with. And so when people like myself back in 2016, or anybody who's gotten into the hobby at any point since about the year 2000, we've had this eBay brand that we can trust, that enables us to buy and sell cards in a format that's familiar, with the auction setting, which is very important to force the action if there's stagnation in the market. And, just with the global recognition that, like, there's buyers and sellers all over the place, but with eBay as the brand that's in between the buyer and the seller, it's been, in my opinion, indispensable to the success of this industry, that this big global brand is the hub and the marketplace that most people go to when they're transacting sports cards, and that they take it very seriously and they treat it as a very important part of their business. So now they're going to be introducing to all these people, tens and tens of millions of sports card collectors or buyers, or I don't know how many there are, but they're going to be introducing to many people these concepts of fractional, these concepts of vaulting. They're really providing this new era sports card collecting experience to the masses. And it could be a home run, and it could totally change the way that our industry grows and scales. And we could see a lot of growth if this is executed properly.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's interesting. There's a comment that was made here by Kevin. He says that with the digital wallet attached, it's a game changer. So that does make transacting that much more convenient and, kind of one clickish, if you will. A question came from JG. He wants to know, is Alt a competitor to Card Ladder? Chris, if you want to take that.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm not super familiar with Alt, but my understanding is they're primarily an auction platform, and they also have a private fund, a private sports card fund, and they've purchased some big cards or added some big cards to that fund, including like Stephen Curry's National Treasures Logo Man 1 of 1. So I think their primary reason for existence is to, buy and sell cards and provide vaulting and be a marketplace and be an investment fund. Whereas our primary reason for existence is something different. It's something narrower. It's mastering sports card data and treating it, with 100% of our focus and attention, and it's our core competency. It's the one thing we focus on. It's the one thing we take very seriously. We are the only people in the industry who perform the vetting procedures, the verification procedures. Some other people like to throw around that. Once we introduced the term verification, very quickly some others started using that term as well, thinking that it's some sort of marketing gimmick. It's not. And we're not marketing people. We have a great marketing team that's, spearheaded by Christina and Stiff Arm Wax, but we're not marketing people. We're data people. So when we say that we're verifying things, it literally means there's a researcher who looks at every sale that comes into Card Ladder and vets it. That's what we mean by verified. So that's our specialty. We're the only ones in the industry who do that. We take the credibility of our data very seriously. So I just don't, to be quite frank, I don't think we have a competitor. Not somebody who's doing and taking data with a scholarly level of seriousness that we take it. I just don't think we have any competitors in that regard.
Okay, well, fair enough. Brian Adams says, I'm joining Card Ladder tomorrow. Well, good for you. There you go. Pick up a new customer tonight. And Brian Adams, I hope that you're not the Canadian singer Brian Adams, are you? I hope you see value from that. Josh, let's turn to you for a minute, because Chris just sort of said that when you were talking about all, and Card Ladder and kind of what the reason for existence is. So to you, Josh, I feel like you're just always doing things to tweak and improve your tool, the Card Ladder tool, the platform, if you will. Any glimpses into what might be coming next? Are you working on things behind the scenes right now that nobody knows about? And if so, is there anything you can share? Is there anything that was higher up on the priority list that is almost done that might be coming soon?
Yeah, we've got a pretty deep list at all times of things we'd like to do. I posted in the comments of this show and give you guys a sneak peek. I'm working on different currencies to be able to display. So if you would like to look at the prices in, like British pounds or Canadian dollar or Australian dollar, I'm coming out with that hopefully next week. I've been meaning to do like Excel spreadsheet upload for your collection, things like that. So there's a bunch of stuff that we'd like to do. Obviously I don't have infinite time, so I have to prioritize, but yeah, I'm continuously working on stuff, behind the scenes.
Right on it. And Chris, how how often do you send a message to Josh and say, okay, I heard somebody mention this. This would be not for all topics, but I heard someone mention that this would be cool. We should implement this, and this has to be high up on the list. Like, does that ever happen where you're like, hey, epiphany, we have to get this in there. This is a top priority. And if so, what was the last thing that might have been?
Well, look, Josh is an excellent businessman. And one of the things that he taught me from the very beginning of Card Ladder is this concept of let's roll out a product and let's take our lumps in the beginning if the product is a little bit unpolished, but we will grow with our customers. And if there's something there, our customers are going to give us a chance. I'll never forget when a YouTube commentator said that our company was just a Kickstarter, and anybody who pays for it is just basically contributing to a Kickstarter campaign. That was some fire and some motivation lit under all of us, I think, to first of all defend what we had built, but also to keep building it and making it better. And Josh really taught me that the way that you build a product like this is by interacting with your customers. And look, Josh, Christina, myself, Cole, Nick, we could sit in a room and fill it with whiteboards and write 8 million ideas. But how about instead we listen to our customers, we see what ideas that they bring forth to us, and they've brought some really good ones to us. Once in a while, we'll come up with some on our own, or we'll come up with an idea that tries to solve a problem that a customer has identified. Maybe if they haven't identified a particular solution, but it's very interactive. It's very iterative. We are constantly iterating, and there's a great synergy between us and our user base. So we're working together with them, constantly. So even if, first of all, if I have an idea, somebody's already probably told it to Josh if it's a good idea. And if I say an idea that's bad, then nobody probably has come up with it. But Josh has always steered the ship in terms of from his experience and his wisdom and his expertise as a businessman to here's how we build out a product. We build this. It's like the ship of Theseus. We're at sea and we're building the ship one piece at a time. And that ship turned into it went from being like Tom Hanks and Castaway. It went from being his little canoe or something to being a Titanic that it is now. And we built it at sea, live on the fly. So, I may have an idea here or there, but that's not how Card Ladder has been built. It's much more interactive engagement with content creators and our customers.
I'm sorry, I've been stuck on Ship of Theseus ever since you said that. So
I had to throw it in because people are giving me shit for all these nerdy references. So I'm just leaning into the bit at this point. Look it up, the Ship of Theseus.
Go for it. Here's I don't know. This is a suggestion from Bob's Big Boy. He says, have you guys ever thought about selling a 24 to 72 hour access for Card Ladder Pro for people to try at card shows?
What's 24 hours times 7, Jeremy? Someone do that math. 24 times 7.
24 times 7, 140, 168.
Yes. We offer a 168-hour access for free at card shows. Well, we have a 7-day free trial. And if you cancel before the free trial, you won't be charged a dime. So it is a completely free trial. There's no strings attached. It's really easy to cancel, actually. We have a lot of people that take advantage of that and try it out. You can do it from the app or from the website.
Thank you for that. And there you go, Bob's Big Boy. So here's a comment from Stale Prad. And I'm going to put it out there and see which one of you want to address it. He says, card market price is the dumbest thing ever. Just because a card went for $100 doesn't mean that's the going rate. The prior sale could have been a quick sale. So which one, either one of you want to jump in? And
Chris? I mean, it's not the dumbest thing. It's a data point. But he does have a great point that it's not necessarily the end all be all. There is no such thing in a collectibles market as like a true market value like there is in stocks. There's just not enough liquidity in collectibles. And so there's always room for negotiation and, something going higher or lower than the last sale. But the market price or the last sold a comp is still a very valuable data point to begin the conversation of the negotiation.
I think that's just it. I think you're both saying the same thing, which is the past does not necessarily have to be indicative of the future. And in sports cards, it is a volatile asset class or collectible or hobby, right? Things move with on court, on ice, on field performance day to day. Obviously it's not that way for retired and vintage cards and players, but I agree with the comment. I don't agree that it's the dumbest thing ever. There are many things I think are dumber in our world, but if we take that out of Stale Prad's comment, it could have been just a quick sale. It could have been sometimes a recent comp is the result of two real aggressive people putting in real serious bids that if they weren't there, the card would have sold for 10 or 20 or whatever % of that price. So those are, a lot of data points can be outliers. Doesn't mean that they're not real data points. Of course, there are non-real data points that exist too. But yeah, just because something sold at $10 yesterday doesn't mean it has to sell at $10 today in our hobby. If that was the case, there'd be no need for Card Ladder or any other data tool, no need for price guides, because you just need to buy it once and then you're good. But that's not the way the world works or the hobby. She blinded me with her factors. Andy says Card Ladder was a great value at $15 in the beginning, and it has improved every month since it came out. There's a nice vote of confidence right there from Andy. Lee Haskins says, is Josh going to be involved in the AI grading of cards for PSA now that Card Ladder is part of PSA? So that's a great question for you, Josh. But my question, I'm going to sort of layer on top of Lee's question, is I didn't know that PSA was working on AI grading. So can you guys address any of that?
Well, yeah, they acquired Geniment last year with the intention of, beginning the AI grading, but I think Nat stated a few times that the human grading aspect will always be there. The AI grading is more of a tool to guide them, to get them started, having a starting point of what they should be looking for, but it will not replace the human grading. And I'm not involved in any of that stuff.
I thought Geniment, and I could be wrong, I thought Geniment was more about fingerprinting a card to be able to, tell if it came in again.
It's both.
It's both. So do you have any, can you tell us a bit about how it AI grades a card? Like, how does it actually do that? What's involved in Geniment's technology? I'm just not familiar with it.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's like scanning the card and then looking for different defects on it and comparing it to a database of previously graded copies of that same card to compare them relative to each other. I'm not a huge AI, machine learning guy. I don't know like the specifics of it, but that's kind of just the general high level how it works.
So capture images, high res images, compared to existing exemplars that they have in the database. Okay, and you will not be involved in that. You're sticking with Card Ladder.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Brendan Ryan says, what is the protocol if you discover your data is corrupted?
Well, it happens more than you might think. I don't know how often people think it happens, but we probably, when we're vetting sales, make 5 to 8 mistakes a night, maybe something like that. I don't know exactly what our error rate is, but we do make them. Where in what the type of mistake or data corruption might happen is we verify a sale for a card and add it to a card profile that got added to the wrong card profile, or maybe we verify a sale for a card that's a BGS 9510 auto, but the one that we verify is a 9 auto. Human mistakes do happen, or a card is being shilled, and even even though we do vet and we look at bid histories and we look at seller feedback scores, and we compare to the price of other available cards on the market at that time at fixed price listings. Even still, then sometimes shilled auctions get past us. Sometimes we errantly throw out a shilled auction. Like this one instance that recently happened was a 2018 Prism Silver Luca PSA 10 sold for $3,950. This happened within the last 2 weeks. I looked at the bid history. I looked at the fact that there were copies available on eBay for $3,200, and I said, this does not meet our criteria for what we would consider a data point. And so I sent it to what's called purgatory, which is a data point that you can still see. It just doesn't show up on the graph. Well, I also, since I knew the owner of the auction house that sold that, I messaged that individual, and they wrote back and said, actually, this was a confirmed price. This was paid. This item was paid. So then I went back to that card profile. I removed that sale from the purgatory, and I dropped it over into the sales history list that shows up on the graph. So that's what happens. We do follow-ups. People follow up with us, our members. Every single card in Card Ladder's verified system and many of the cards in the sales history feature are actively being tracked by our members. And so if something goes awry, somebody notices pretty damn quick, and then they reach out to us and they say, hey, could you take a second look at this? And we use the site functionally all the time, so we might run into one of our own errors or mistakes. There's no special magic to it. It's just a lot of hard work, a lot of passion, a lot of dedication, and a lot of reliance on the Card Ladder members, who are pretty freaking amazing people, to alert us to mistakes when we make them.
And there you go, Brendan Ryan. There is the protocol. Good question. Thanks for asking. Okay, we're going to go through some more comments, and we're kind of going to jump between the topics. But T-Dot says, people want safety, trust, instant transactions, and participation, all of what the evolution of the hobby eBay is capturing. Waxel says, I've seen Card Ladder being used at shows, and I won't trade with anyone using Card Ladder on light mode. Gross. Pretty funny. Pretty funny, Waxel. Lee Haskins says, everything is negotiable. Data points are a baseline. And I think that's really the whole point, right? Like, it's tough to go into a negotiation or a purchase without a baseline comparable sale. You look at the purchase of real estate, it's all about what are the comps? What are the recent comps? That's what drives the market. And sports cards are by many now look to be assets, just like real estate is, not just like, but assets as well. So it makes sense to me that people want comps. Chris? Sorry, I thought I saw you were about to jump in.
No, I agree, Jeremy.
Okay. You had that look like you wanted to say something. Latrell Spreewell, I love Card Ladder and Cardboard Chronicles. Josh, this is for you. What is your plan for Cardboard Chronicles? Will you still be doing interviews over time? I know you're involved in a lot, but keep up the interviews. So what is the plan for Cardboard Chronicle?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done one in, 6 months or so. It's quite depressing. I would love to bring it back. I'll definitely bring it back at some point. It's just a matter of like free time that I have with Card Ladder and stuff. So I would definitely bring it back in the future. I do that show, more just for the community and for myself to be able to make content that's enjoyable for me. I don't get any money out of that, and so it's tough with my lack of time right now.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for addressing that. Tom Bullard says we're still not at 50 likes and there's 150 plus people here. Come on, y'all. Let's hit that like button at the very least, everyone, and show some hobby love. Hit that thumbs up. Well, thank you, Tom Bullard, for that. And so, yeah, guys, please hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying this. If you're not enjoying this, still hit that thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed to Sports Cards Live, please go ahead and do so. Would love to have you along for this journey that is coming up on 2 years old in about a month. So, wow, time sure does fly when you are having fun. Bob's Big Boy says, what's keeping eBay from encrypting or hiding their sales data and selling their own data platform? That's a good question. Put that to you, Chris, perhaps.
It's a little more complicated than what that question implies. Just to give a rough example, Card Ladder sends thousands and thousands of unique users to eBay every day. We prominently feature a Buy It Now eBay link on the Card Ladder website, and there's a reciprocity there that's pretty powerful. Card Ladder is a very important brand in this hobby, and I know that saying that is self-serving, but I also think it's true. And we've done a lot to cultivate it and to earn it. And one of the things that our brand is we take data we take data very seriously, and we make the hobby fun. And we enhance, hopefully, and make it the experience of collecting cards more fun for our members. And so, eBay as well makes the hobby fun, but they do it differently than us. eBay makes items available for sale, and they make a limited amount of sales history information for sale, a 3-month sample. We've already talked about how important eBay's brand is, and how important the service they provide is. But there's an interrelation there that's mutually beneficial, where we have our brand and we prominently display eBay to our users and our members. And so we're like a resource or a research outlet that people can go to. So to me, I think there's always going to be a mutually beneficial relationship between Card Ladder and eBay. And even if eBay, and to some extent they have, eBay has their collection beta feature, they have their price guide beta feature, but nonetheless, Card Ladder remains an important brand and an important product offering in the hobby community. So I think there's always going to be mutual benefit there. I think there's always going to be a place for Card Ladder and for the service and the brand that we provide, and sort of it's uplifting. If Card Ladder does well, eBay does well. If eBay does well, Card Ladder does well. And in all of those scenarios, the hobby does well too. So when you got a good thing going and there's pretty complicated, sophisticated relationships involved there of mutual benefit, I just think everybody is helping each other. And I think that's how this story continues to unfold, is, even with eBay developing and continuing to perfect their offerings, their collection beta and their price guide beta offering, that only can serve to give customers more data, more information, more access. And that's what we want at the end of the day as stakeholders in the industry.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Skeppy says that eBay would lose transparency almost instantly if they leverage withholding sales history. Ben, this is on something that Josh is working on. Says, I like being able to see the value of my cards in Canadian dollars because it makes them look more valuable. Now, I don't know if Ben is Canadian or American, but if you're American, that's an even funnier comment for sure. Albert Jones says, all this talk, but are any of you guys packing any heat? Any mail days to show us? Well, I went to a local card show this morning. I picked up my daughter. Today was a big day for our family. Well, today was my daughter's 5th birthday party with all of her friends. So I managed to squeeze in about 45 minutes at the local card show this morning between picking her up from her dance class and going to her birthday party. And I did pick up 3 cards, which I'd be happy to show. You guys want to see these? Let's see some nods. There we go. All right, I picked up 3 cards. I picked the first. Here we go. Here, I'll just show them. I'm going to start. So Cale Makar is the defenseman for the Colorado Avalanche, and he is lighting it up. I believe I just saw a stat that he is in his first 150 games, he has more points than any other defenseman in NHL history. So that's a pretty significant stat. Cale Makar. So I picked up his 2019 exquisite autographed rookie out of 99 today. So that's the card right there. It's actually a really nice looking card. I just love it with a nice on-card autograph. So I picked up this one today. This is for you, Albert Jones. Here we go. There's one of my pickups. I picked this up from the same guy that also sold me this card. This is a neat card. I've always wanted one, even though I thought it was a little gimmicky at first, but I'll show it to you guys. This is from 2010, The Cup, Upper Deck's The Cup. This is a dual enshrinements autograph, numbered out of 35. Sidney Crosby and Sidney Crosby. So,
What?
Yeah, right. So now I say, you guys are like, what? But I mean, you guys being basketball collectors, you know about that one card that has like 12 or 24 Michael Jordan autographs on it, like all on one single big booklet card. So that is kind of gross compared to this. It only has 2 autographs. But the reason being, Sidney Crosby doesn't autograph with any other player. Now, they've done a few deals. He's done a few deals with Upper Deck where he will be seen autographing a card with another player. But this was outside of the boundaries of one of those deals. So in order to get him on a dual enshrinements, they decided to put his autograph on here twice. And so I picked up this card because I just think it's super neat. And then the last card, this will appeal to the basketball people out there as well. This is from 2013-14 Fleer Showcase. This is what is known as the Precious Metal Gems Red Wayne Gretzky in an Oilers uniform, which is always extra special. And I do love the design of the 2013 PMGs because they have that championship PMG look from 1997. I believe I'm correct in that comparison. So those are the 3 that I picked up today at the local card show. Otherwise, this is also from a recent mail day that I got. This is a private deal that came through Instagram, actually. These are game-worn ultimate emblems from In the Game back in 2000, and one of them is from 2008, and the other one, this is 2008, this is 2010. This is a gold medalist named Simone Gagne, played for the Philadelphia Flyers for a while, and this is Milan Hajduk from the Colorado Avalanche. Pick those 2 up. So that's what's on my desk as far as new incomers. Either of you guys have anything new on your desks that you can show?
I do actually. Also, as you were talking, I couldn't help but pull up every card you talked about, and since might as well shill for my company for a minute here as we highlight.
Do you want to share your screen and show what you're looking at?
I'm on a different screen. I'm on a gigantic computer screen. No, don't. Okay, I'm on a big computer screen right here. But I looked up the Cale Makar 2019 Exquisite Platinum Rookies Autograph 99 on card. Found it. Looks exactly the same as yours. Really cool to learn about that. I looked up the Crosby, the dual. You might be interested to know the last time one of those sold, as far as my search query is telling me, is 2016. The last time one of those hit a public auction or public sale was 2016 on eBay. So that's a pretty rare card, I presume.
Well, it's out of 35, and there are Crosby collectors who are steadfastly holding on to their cards. So just like you said, you haven't seen his Cup RPA sell in several years either. So it's consistent.
Yeah, double the fun with that card. And then the Gretzky PMG Red, is that numbered to 75?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I was able to figure that out. And then there's a really cool PWCC weekly sale of that card in sales history. It's got a really nice high res scan, and I'm able to see that like there's a pattern to the red. It looks like fireworks exploding, like maybe like 12 of them or something. Yeah. Yeah, really, really cool card. So yeah, I'm just creeping on your mail day here while you're showing it off. And the last time that sold looked like was in 2021. So that there's only 4 sales on the books of that card ever. So nice mail days, great taste as usual, and a diverse offering, which is really cool. All right, here's my mail day. This is great timing. It's a huge mail day. So like we have mail days like this once in a blue moon, once in a career, basically. And Christina actually is the one who picked up this card. So I don't know if she wants to wheel over here and talk about it. No, I'll talk about it. This is a 2018 Select Concourse Gold Luka rookie card, PSA 10. It's a Pop 1. So this is PSA 10 Select Concourse Gold Luka rookie, number 3 of 10, PSA 10 Pop 1. It's never sold publicly. This origin story behind it is a guy pulled it, graded it himself, traded it a few years ago to I'm actually not sure when that trade happened, but he traded it to the guy who owned it in Detroit. He did a fly-in deal to pick up the card, and then today the owner of the card flew into Chicago to drop the card off with Christina and myself because he just so happened to have gone to college in Chicago and he wanted to come back and visit for a little while anyway. So he flew in. His name's Tim, playing the long game 15 on Instagram. And it's just an absolute grail acquisition for us to the Luka collection. And Pop 1 Luka rookie. So one of the biggest mail days in Christina and my collecting history. Jeremy, thanks for asking to share.
No problem. How about you, Josh? Any cards on the desk?
I have cards on my desk, but none of them are new mail days, just stuff
Show us
that I've
one.
had. Sure.
Oh, I love that card. I love those credentials.
Yep. These are numbered to 73.
Those are just beautiful. Gary Hotch says, pardon my ignorance, but what does Pop 1 mean? That basically means that there's one in the graded population. Pop is short for population, Jerry, in the hobby, if you are unaware, and welcome to the show. Sasha says, amazing pickup to you, Chris. So does J-Back, amazing pickup. We got a wow, what a Luka. I'm going to go back up. So there was a comment that I saw right here from Tom Bullitt. He goes, David French, are you a paid promotion for Jay Lee, being myself? And I'm like, what's he getting at? So I had to find the comment, and here it is. David French says, off topic, but I would like to see a trading house, a service like what CSG is doing for eBay. They receive 2 cards from 2 traders, confirm what they are, and ship them to their proper destination. And then people are, well, that's trade safe. So yeah, David French, as Hits and Shicks says, trade safe to the moon. Myself and a few others have recently launched a company in the hobby called Trade Safe, and that's exactly what we are doing. We are middlemaning trades for people who are finding trade partners online that they may not know and be able to trust. So we are acting as a safety net for that. Let's talk about that for a second, as it is something that I'm into and very passionate about now. I think we're providing great service to the hobby. I want to thank you guys for having myself and our founder, Steve Foley, on your show for about 15-20 minutes last Friday, and gave us the ability to speak to your audience on there and let them know what we were up to. Your thoughts on what we're doing? Do you is this something you think the hobby needs? Just give me all the positive feedback now on Trade Safe if you can, and we're open to criticism and cynicism if there's anything there that you think we should be looking at as well. Please indulge us. Chris, Josh, either of you.
Well, peer-to-peer hobby entrepreneurs together. Jeremy, I've seen you take a very similar path to us. You've built one of the best audiences in this hobby. You've got one of the best pieces of content in this hobby, one of the most recognizable faces of the hobby. And now you're an entrepreneur in the sense of starting a business with Trade Safe as well. And so just congratulations are in order, and an acknowledgement of all the hard work that you put in and the consistency that you apply to your craft. And in terms of Trade Safe, I think David French actually summed it up perfectly. There is a demand for this service. I think you guys are offering it. Here's my criticism: your price is way too cheap. I think the service you're providing, you could charge 10 times the amount you're charging. And honestly, your customers are going to be very upset at me, but almost maybe you should, just to convey to people what a serious product it is and what an important and valuable service it is. So my only criticism would be you guys are giving people too good of a deal. I think the service you're providing is very valuable. Your service could have helped me and Christina avoid having to go into downtown Chicago today and on St. Patrick's Day and maneuver through seas of drunk people wearing green and have to find parking and drive to the 7th level of this creepy small parking lot. And we could have avoided all that with Trade Safe, although I don't mind going in. It was really nice to meet him and get out of the house. But enough said. I thought David summed it up well. My only criticism is you guys should charge 10 times more than you do.
Well, appreciate that feedback. We'll definitely bring it into our next strategy session. Josh, anything to add?
No, same as Chris. I'll definitely be using it because I sell a decent amount of high end and buy a decent amount of high end from people that I haven't done business with before. I think that's the use case for me. I don't do a lot of trades, but I do a lot of deals with people that I'm not 100% vouched, haven't been 100% vouched for. So that's, I think, the value that I would get out of it. I'm definitely going to use it at some point.
Awesome. Well, great to hear that. All right. Logan Fisher says, Jeremy, did you ever land that class of 96 Kobe card? Yes, I did. Logan Fisher. I found one at auction last year at some point, and it has landed. Luke, thank you very much for my sweet pickups. This Facebook user whose name I can't tell says, am I going to give Chris the sales data from these 3 cards to go into Card Ladder? Yeah, maybe I will. Chris, we'll talk about that. All right.
It's your call. Sometimes people like to disclose prices that they paid and sometimes they don't. But that's up to the buyer or the seller or the reporting party, and we respect it either way. But yeah, the more data points, the better. But hey, maybe you got a steal and you don't want to make it public what you paid. That's totally your prerogative too.
Yeah, and there's something to that, right? Like if I think that I'm just going to use numbers that aren't applicable, but if I think this card is worth $100 and I managed to buy it for $60, does it make sense for me then to put that data point into the public domain as 60, which could lower the value of the card when I would have paid up to 100, but I managed to get it for 60? I wonder how many of your users face that dilemma on a regular basis. Have you had this discussion with others? Is this a challenge or a bit of a barrier to you getting even more private sales data?
It just I don't know if it's a challenge. Well, it's a challenge that doesn't need to be solved because people have the right to keep their transaction history private if it happens in the private setting. So, it obviously the more data points, the better. But by the same token, people have the right to their privacy. They have the right to privately conduct deals. There's no affirmative obligation on their end to report them. So, it means that we miss data points that happen through private deals. And in an ideal world, we'd know every price and every transaction. But, maybe by the same token, an ideal world is one where people have the right to protect their private transactions if they like to. And it's optional whether or not they'd like to disclose what they paid.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Very fair, very fair. Mikey, my buddy, says, will you be exhibiting at the upcoming Edmonton Sports Card and Memorabilia Expo? We did cover this earlier. The Card Ladder folks are not. I will be, though, Mikey. I'm very much looking forward to it. Okay, guys. Listen, we are coming up on 2 hours. I think we're going to wrap this up. This has been great. I want to thank both of you for joining. Thank you again for having Steve and I on your show last week to talk about Trade Safe. Congratulate you on the Card Ladder 2.0. Nice that we both got to have Luber on our shows within a couple of days of each other and learn more about what's going on at Fanatics. So again, guys, thank you for joining. Final words to you, Josh. Any parting comments for the audience? Please share.
Oh man, I wish I had something clever to say, but I did not. Check out Crossover, check out cardladder.com. Free trial, like I said, is there if you want to try it out. Thanks for having us on, Jeremy. Excellent troll game tonight with the Trae Young. Good job.
I had no idea, to be honest, Chris. And actually, it's funny.
Sure.
You, this is actually Card Ladder swag that I bought from your Card Ladder swag website. So again, I bought it for the colors. I like the colors.
It looks great. You wear it well.
Thank you. And I'll tell you what, I'll buy another one and I'll wear that next time, Josh. How does that sound? I don't want to troll you, Chris.
No, I love a good troll. I love it.
Words to you, Chris, and then we're gonna end this show. And I want to thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jeremy. You're the best, man.
You're welcome, guys. Thank you for joining to the chat, everybody. Thank you so much. Great to have you all. David French has awesome Trade Safe. Now we need a platform where people put a card for trade and they trade for card they want. Well, we will help people with their trading. Just tag Trade Safe in any post you do on Instagram or Twitter, and we will reshare that with you with the Trade Safe followers. So thank you very much, both of you guys, for joining again. Chat, great job tonight. Thank you. And that's it. I'll be doing Collectible Live tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern, on the Collectible TV YouTube channel. And next week on Sports Cards Live, we will be covering the PWCC Premier Auction Extended Bidding, as we've been doing for the past year or so. Looking forward to that. And John Wee, the founder of the app Center Stage, will be joining on After Hours. That's it, everybody. You guys hang tight one moment. Everybody else, again, thank you for joining. We'll see you next week.